Hello, everyone, and welcome to my A1 Low Beginning English course. In this module, you will learn adverbs of frequency used with the present simple. At the end, you will get to practice what you just learned with a few sample exercises. Let's get started. All right, we'll look at this chart quickly, and I'll explain here an overview. So, frequency means how often something happens. So, for example, we have from 100% of the time down to 10 or 0%. So, always is 100% of the time. You are always late, is an example. Usually means about 90%. And you'll see here, we usually go to the cinema on Sunday. 70% would be often, um, not always. So often, for example, he often cooks pasta. All right, and then we have sometimes, this is about 50%, half of the time. We sometimes order pizza for dinner. Then there's only the 10%. This is like hardly ever, rarely. For example, she hardly ever smiles. And then there's 0%, which means never. They are never at home when we call. All right, so looking quickly at word order for a positive sentence here, you can use a subject, frequency adverb, and then the verb. And this comes before a regular verb. He often cooks pasta. And then um, we have here the subject, a be verb, and then a frequency adverb. You are always late. And then in a question, we have an auxiliary um, word here. Can be a be verb or do, then the subject, and then the adverb. For example, are you always late? All right, so we'll look some more at this here. Okay, so we use adverbs of frequency with the present simple to talk about how often something happens. So let's look at position. Adverbs of frequency go before the verb, the main verb, but after the verb be. In negative sentences, though, the adverb of frequency goes after don't or doesn't. So, for example, we have these. We don't often go to bed late. And then there's he doesn't always agree with me. So notice that these come after the auxiliary verb if it's negative. Then we have they usually read before bed. Um, Dad is never late for work. So notice that these come after the always come after the be verb. Okay, and I am sometimes ill after eating. All right. Okay, in questions, adverbs of frequency go after the subject. So we have is, first of all, he always late, so always coming after he. And then do they often go to the library? So often coming after the subject they. All right, let's talk about never or hardly ever. The adverbs never and hardly ever, this means almost never, have a negative meaning, but they are used with a positive verb. So you'll see which ones are correct and which aren't. So he is never late. So we know that it comes after the be verb. We can't say he isn't never late. That's a double negative. And then we have they hardly ever go to the library. So that would be correct. We can't say they don't hardly ever go to the library. That wouldn't be, it doesn't sound right. Okay, let's look at the next here. All right, expressions of frequency. So there are other expressions that we use to talk about frequency. There's once a day, twice a week, 3 times a month, every day, um, those kind of things. These expressions are longer, like 2 words or more, and they go at the end of the sentence. So, for example, I brush my teeth 3 times a day. So, this says how often this action happens. And then I see her every day. So, sounds like always. So, it's every day. And then there's mother does laundry twice a week. So twice is 2 times a week. Okay, and then he travels once a month. So 1 time a month. And then we have, do you visit him every week? So, all right. So now we're going to go on to a few sample exercises and see what we've learned. All right. So we're going to see which of these is in the correct order here for this one. So we have our teacher is often late. Our teacher often is often our teacher late, or often our teacher is late. Which order looks correct? Okay. So if you chose number or A, the first option, our teacher is often late, that would be correct. So, because we know this comes after um, is, the be verb. Okay, number 2, which looks correct. Never we eat fast food. We eat never fast food. We eat fast food never, or we never eat fast food. Okay, so all right, so if you chose option D, we never eat fast food, that would be correct. So, it's coming before the main verb here. All right, number 3. My father doesn't hardly ever watch football on TV. My father watches hardly ever football on TV. My father watches football on TV hardly ever. Or my father hardly ever watches football on TV. So, the correct order. So, all right, so if he chose option D, my father hardly ever watches football on TV, that would be correct. All right, let's try one more here. Do often you go to the cinema? Do you often go to the cinema? Do you go often to the cinema, or do you go to the cinema often? So, which looks correct? So, all right, if you chose B, option B, do you often go to the cinema? That would be the correct order. For questions, yes, it can go before the main verb. All right, let's check exercise 2 real quick. So multiple choice here, we'll fill in these blanks. So we have Tom to the radio. So we have never listens, doesn't never listen, or never doesn't listen. So, all right. Obviously, the only one that looks correct is option A, never listens to the radio. Okay, number 2, in class on time. So, is always your teacher, is your teacher always, or always is your teacher? All right, so, okay. So if you chose option B, is your teacher always in class on time? That would be the correct order. Mhm. Okay, let's try number 3. His homework hardly ever doesn't do, doesn't hardly ever do, or hardly ever does. Okay, so we don't want a double negative there. Okay, so if you chose option C, hardly ever does, that would be correct here. Okay, um, let's look at the last one, number 3. So we'll rewrite these adverbs of frequency or these expressions in the correct position. So we have she has a shower in the morning and using always. So where would you put this in a sentence? So she, so we're going to have the adverb always, right? Has a shower in the morning. All right, very good. Okay, number 2, where do you go running? And then usually. So where does this go? So where do you, and then we want the adverb, right? Usually go running. Very good. Okay, how about this one? She is full of energy always. So let's see where we want this one. So she, whoops, wrong fingers. Okay, she is, okay, so coming after the be verb, so we want always here, right? Full of energy. All right, very good. Okay, the last one. My parents approve of my friends using hardly ever. Okay, so my parents, we want to do the adverb before the main verb. So um, hardly ever, right? Approve of my friends. All right. Excellent job on these exercises. You were listening well, obviously. All right. So I can help you speak English with more confidence. I'm TESOL certified. I teach native U.S. English. I'm experienced in online tutoring, and I work with all learning levels and most age groups. So whether you need help in grammar, speaking, vocabulary, or writing, or any other area, you've come to the right place. Well, thank you for watching my video and happy learning.